So, welcome to today's segment of a discussion. Normally, we usually talk about daring to dance in the rain, but today I want to shift our conversation a little bit. And it's actually not out of topic, but it's really related. But the weight I'll place on today's topic may not necessarily deal with the dancing in the rain aspect. I want to talk about a very important topic that gets overlooked a lot, and this is mental health. And my focus today will probably be more on dealing with depression as opposed to a general discussion, and it will overlap. So I'm hoping that you can get some helpful nuggets from this conversation today. Mental health is a very, very important topic, and is very, very relevant at the times we are living in more than ever before. And I want to premise this by talking about my desire to talk about this came out of the need I've seen in communities around me, especially communities of color, and more specifically African immigrant communities, where we have not really created space in our conversations, whether it's within our cultural circles or even in our spiritual circles, to talk about mental health and how that's impacting our well-being and our lives overall. And mental health challenges are a reality for everybody. They affect us. They affect everyone. They are not a respecter of color, race, gender, ethnicity, nationality, socioeconomic status, tribal affiliation, level of education, location, geographical location. It doesn't matter if you're in Kenya, you're in Tanzania, you're in Europe, you're in New Zealand, you're in Finland, you're in the US. It does not matter whether you're poor or you're rich, whether you have access to health insurance or not, whether you acknowledge mental health or not, it will catch up with you at some point. And unfortunately, there is a stigma associated with mental health conversations in most communities of color. And even though, as I talk about this, this will be relevant to most communities, but I'm going to probably talk about the impact in the African community a lot more. And so when I throw in the variable of spirituality or Christianity, the conversation becomes even a little bit more complex, because we are talking about cultural aspects and spiritual aspects in dealing with depression and other mental health issues. And so today I just wanted to put it on the table that we're going to talk about this today. Even though we tend to minimize the impact of mental health in our lives, especially as Christian people, we are prone to challenges and stresses just like non-believers. Christians are not exempt from depression, anxiety, and psychotic disorders or whatever it may be. As long as we are flesh and blood, we are in this world. We may not be of this world, but we are subjected to the experiences that happen to everybody else. Mental health is real. And, mental health challenges are real. And sometimes, some of you are probably wondering, so why is this such a big deal now? In the society we are living in today, we tend to be very fast paced. Everybody is, the struggle is real. Everybody is trying to make it. Everybody is trying to chase the dream. Everybody is trying to make sure their families are comfortable. Everybody wants a good life. And, the stresses are mounting. And for immigrant communities, we deal with issues around discrimination, racism. We deal with issues about being considered as different, access to resources. There's just a bunch of stressors that may affect us. And what I find interesting about how we operate as a people is I use the analogy of a swan, that we are like on the water and we are all gliding perfectly. We are all just cruising across the water perfectly as though nothing is happening. Underneath the water, we are all paddling like crazy. People are trying to just stay afloat. Everybody's just hustling. People are working crazy and ridiculous hours. People are not sleeping very well. People are just hustling from one spot to another. It is real. The struggle is real. And we cannot negate the impact of that on our well being. So, what leads to mental health issues really? I just talked about some of the stressors we deal with. It can also be as a result of a traumatic life experience. Unfortunately, a lot of people have dealt with different levels of abuse, whether it's physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, whether it happened in your childhood or somewhere in the course of your life, that can trigger mental health difficulties and challenges. Sometimes it's because of a predisposition. There may be a biological or genetic loading within your family that people are more likely to be diagnosed with this disorder or the other, and that can also lead to some mental health challenges. Substance use, people who engage in a lot of using of drugs and substances or alcohol or what have you, that gives you a high likelihood of struggling with mental health issues. And also poor coping strategies. If you don't know how to cope with a stressor, you become really unable to manage the demand that's placed on you by your life experiences. That can lead to things like depression. So you're probably wondering, how do I know that I am depressed? Or how do I know that a loved one is dealing with depression? I'm just going to run through some of the symptoms of depression just to give us an idea of, maybe it's you, maybe it's somebody you know, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member, maybe it's your child. Maybe it's a coworker, maybe it's somebody in your social circles, and you're wondering what is going on with so and so. Some common symptoms of depression is overwhelming sadness. When you find yourself being sad, just sometimes for no reason. It may be that things are fine, you have a good job, you can provide for yourself, you know your life situations are fine, but you just have this sadness, this like dark hole within you. You feel like I'm just not happy. That's a symptom to look out for. When you feel lonely, even when you're not alone. And what I mean by that is, you may be surrounded by people, but you still feel very much like nobody is there. You're feeling really lonely, but you're not alone. That's a symptom of depression. If you find yourself getting tearful a lot, you're crying a lot, you just burst in tears a lot, you cry for even just over a TV commercial, then that's something to think about. That, wow, what is going on with me? If your mood is constantly depressed, you're always downcast, you're not functioning optimally, your mood is always foul, that's another symptom. If you find yourself getting irritable, people irritate you, people are constantly getting on your nerves, and you find that you're activated by even the smallest thing. When a child just asks you something small, you find yourself getting worked up. That's a symptom of depression to pay attention to. If you find yourself losing interest in things you normally enjoy, and you don't even want to do it. Maybe you like sketching or painting or drawing, or you love photography, you love videography, you love to sing, you love gardening or pottery, and you find that I don't even have the passion to do that anymore. That's a symptom to watch out for. If you're having trouble sleeping, depression can show up in different ways. When I talk about sleep, some people have trouble falling asleep, or they have trouble staying asleep, or they have trouble getting out of bed. Those are things to look out for. You can't fall asleep, you're suffering from insomnia, or when you do fall asleep, you wake up a lot, or you sleep a lot. So it can be, I'm not sleeping enough, or I'm sleeping a lot. If you find yourself sleeping for prolonged hours, you're sleeping for 12 hours straight, and when you wake up, you still want to go back to bed, you don't even want to get out of your bed, that's a major symptom of depression. Parents, watch out for that. When your kids are struggling to wake up, they can't get out of bed, they can't get activated, and they're sad and they lock themselves in their room. One thing I found a lot with young adults is they like to stay in the dark. In their rooms, they don't want to talk to anybody. That's a symptom of depression. Something may be going on there. You want to keep an eye on that. Poor concentration is another symptom that you want to be attentive to. You can't concentrate, you go to class or you're at work, but you can't focus on your work. Low motivation, you have no desire, no zeal to do anything. That's another symptom of depression. Low energy, I almost forgot about that, is a symptom of depression. You've had enough sleep, you just can't seem to get energy to do anything. It just takes a lot for you to get up and get activated. That's a symptom of depression. Appetite is another one. If your eating habits have changed, either you're not eating enough, you have no appetite, your mouth is just not desiring to eat, that's a symptom of depression. Or you're eating too much, you're overeating. And that's you're compensating for something. When you find yourself you're eating too much, you're trying to compensate for something there. Those are symptoms of depression. One that I want to not forget to mention is thoughts of suicide. That is a symptom I want to just spend a little bit of time on to talk about. You're probably thinking, so how do I know that, that a friend of mine or a family member or a loved one has thoughts of suicide? What happens is when people are thinking about suicide, sometimes they will tell you that I want to die. I don't want to be here. What's the point anymore? What am I contributing? The world will be better off without me. Nobody is going to miss me. Nobody cares about me anyway. I'm a burden to people. Life will be easier for my parents without me here. Life will be easier for my family without me. When people start saying things like that, they may be contemplating suicide. You will notice that when people are having thoughts of suicide, they give away their valuable belongings. If you're a collector, you find that that person is giving away things they value, things they care about, or they start saying goodbye to people, or they write notes, whether it's on social media or on email, and they're saying goodbye to people. Like they're putting their stuff in order. They're putting their house in order. That's a sign of somebody who's thinking about suicide. They may research suicide. You may look at their searches, and they're looking for ways to kill themselves. So those are things that I would say look out for when they're no longer interested in engaging in anything that they're passionate about. It's possible that they're thinking about suicide. Those are things I would say keep an eye on. They may even tell you a plan they have about what they would do. So if a loved one is going through that, you're probably thinking, wow, that's overwhelming. How do I help them? What do I do? Maybe it's your child and they have those thoughts and you're wondering, how do I get them out of there? You don't have to be a doctor. You don't have to fix the situation. There may be your child, it may be your family member, it may be your friend, it may be a young adult in your church, in your fellowship, in your home, somebody you're mentoring. Pray about it. I know in African circles and Christian circles especially, when somebody is dealing with mental health, we say, pray about it. I'm all for that. Let's pray about it. But I would challenge us to go beyond praying about it. Seek help. Talk to somebody about it. If you don't know what to do, you can go online and look for resources, and I'll talk about those in a minute. But if you're a believer, you're a Christian, I would say talk to your pastor. They may be able to provide counseling. If it's not within their background, it's beyond their capacity to deal with that, they will likely refer you to a mental health counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Talk to somebody about it. If you're a young person and you're like, wow, I need to maybe talk to my mom or talk to somebody, find an adult and unburden yourself. Don't allow somebody who's experiencing depression to ask you to keep a secret. I know that sounds a little difficult for, when people say, I want to share something with you, but don't say anything about it. I would say it's really important to share that with somebody. I would rather you keep somebody alive and lose their friendship, but you save a life. And you don't have to do it yourself. You just need to hand that over to somebody who has the tools, the skill set to be able to help that person. I want to say, especially for us African people and Christian people, we tend to become judgmental when people come up and say, I'm struggling with a mental health issue, because we get all spiritual. I would say, like I said earlier, Christians deal with the same stressors that people who are non-believers deal with. So the same demand is placed on us. So we need the tools to be able to cope and deal with that. So I would say don't judge people when they step up and say, I'm dealing with a mental health issue. Don't judge their families. When you learn that, wow, so-and-so's kid tried to kill themselves, attempted to take their own life, or so-and-so's kid overdosed on pills, or so-and-so's kid has been drinking heavily, or, that is a disorder, that is a condition that we need to address in our communities. But when we judge people or judging families when maybe a loved one has really taken their life through suicide, we actually hinder these people from speaking up. If I feel judged when I talk about what's going on with me, and people are talking about me in the community and saying, oh, look at them, then people will not speak up. And I'm on a campaign to say we need to talk about mental health issues in our community. We need to address this because we don't need to wait until there is a tragic experience in the community. Somebody has died, or somebody OD'd, or somebody did something to hurt themselves. Let's create room to talk about it. If you have nothing constructive to say, don't say anything. Pass the information to somebody who can help. Let us not judge people when they're dealing with mental health. It has nothing to do with them not being spiritual enough or them not being wise enough. It's just that conditions happen. Life happens. I talked about why some people are more likely to be depressed or not. And so don't be quick to point fingers. Let us be our brother and sisters keepers. Support people. Pray for them, love on them, hug them, spend some time with them. And I'll talk about dealing with grief and loss in a different segment. But that is sometimes when we judge people and say, why are they crying? Why are they sad? Why are they not getting out of that hole? Why are they not coming to the fellowship anymore? Take time to support them, even when you don't understand, and point them in the right direction. And I want to finally say that if you are dealing with a life issue that is, a stressor in life, a stormy experience, that you're thinking that I can't live with this anymore, and you're thinking about suicide, I would want to let you know right now, you are very important. Your life is very valuable. God loves you. God has a plan and purpose for your life. I'm talking to you right now. You may be feeling overwhelmed by the things you're experiencing. It may even be just a breakup. I won't say just. You may have had somebody walk out of your life and you feel like the pain is overwhelming. The sadness is overwhelming. I don't know how I'll go on without this. I want to tell you tomorrow is going to be better than today. Reach out for help. If you have thoughts of suicide in the US, I would say you can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. The number is 1-800-273-TALK. 1-800-273-TALK. If you call that number, people are available 24/7. Trained professionals, counselors will be able to speak to you and help you get the resources that you need. And I know for some people you're like, I don't want to talk to anybody. But maybe you say, you know what, maybe I'll text somebody. I will give you, there's a crisis text line that you can call. Again, these are numbers that are relevant, especially to people in the US. The crisis hotline, I want you to take this number down. The number is 741 741. So 6 digits, 741 741. All you need to do is text HOME to 741 741. HOME. That's a crisis hotline. The moment you text that line, somebody is going to text you back. A responder, a mental health professional, licensed professionals, they will just stay with you on text and help you navigate whatever you're going through and connect you with resources. So you can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, you can call the crisis, you can text the crisis text line, and somebody will talk to you 24/7. Both of those numbers are available to you. If you're not in the US and you're wondering, well, what do I do where I am? I would say call the emergency services in your country, or you can reach out to the mental health organizations within your country. If you're within a Christian organization, talk to your ministers, your pastors, and somebody will help you. If you absolutely have nobody who can help you, you can message me. You can email me at info@lilianodera.com and I will respond to you. Or you can go to my website, www.lilianodera.com, and there is a contact box. You can drop me a message and I'll help you get connected to somebody who can help you. Mental health is a serious issue in our community today, and I think it's really important that we address it. Let us save lives. God has a plan and purpose for your life, for my life. Let us be each other's keeper, and let's keep the conversations open so we can talk about getting each other to a healthy place. Thank you for joining me for today's segment. We will continue again next time to talk about how to work our way through the storm and dare to dance in the rain.